Hi, everyone. Welcome to Disruptive Conversations. Today, we are going to have a really interesting guest, Dr. Yolanda Ragland. And this series of conversations is all about how to make positive change in our lives. And the good news is that positive change can happen at any point in time. You are never too late. And what we need to have for positive change is we need to have awareness. That's the first part. And I'm waiting for Dr. Yolanda Ragland to come on so that she can share her wisdom, share her journey with us, which is so important. I find it so helpful to hear other people's journeys. Okay, so she's on. Now I'm waiting for her request. All right, so Yolanda is here. She's in the building and waiting for her request. I see her request right now. Okay. And we're going to let's see how this goes. And these conversations are so important to let people know what journeys look like in real life and in real time. And Dr. Yolanda, so great to see you. I'm going to be announcing the show, myself and you, and then the two of us are going to start on our conversation. So for everybody here, welcome to Disruptive Conversations, in which we deep dive into the experiences these women have needed to navigate and conquer in order to have achieved their personal and professional success up to this moment in time. And I'm Dr. Risa Reiger, clinical psychologist, and I'm an expert in change. Positive change can happen at any point in time. You're never too late. But in order to have positive change, we need to disrupt. We need to disrupt a thought, a feeling, a belief, a behavior in order to create our 10.0 lives. And that's what this series of conversations is all about. And today, to help us on that journey is Dr. Yolanda Ragland, who I am so thrilled is able to join us here today and share her wisdom with us. So I'm going to read you a little bit about what's on her bio. And so first of all, Dr. Ragland is the only female podiatrist whose practice is dedicated solely to bunion and hammer toe correction. She is also the creator, and this is such a great tongue twister, the creator of the tiara toe technique. And if you think about it, a tiara, a crown, like your toes are going to wind up looking amazing. She coined the term interdigital approach for hammer toe procedure training. She's a graduate of the New York College of Podiatric Medicine, podiatric medicine, and she's a member of the Manhattan Central Medical Society, founder of International Association of Aesthetic Forefoot Surgeons, and there's so much more. That's just a little introduction into the scope, the breadth, and the focus of Yolanda's work. And Yolanda, welcome. So happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Risa. I really appreciate it.
Just wonderful. So we've gotten some of your bio. Is there anything that anything that you would like to add to your bio that I haven't said?
I think one of the things I'm really most proud of is my dermatologic research at the National Institutes of Health. Did 5 years of research there. And so, I have a product for fungal nails, and this is, I'm very passionate about that particular product because I suffer from fungal nails. And when I came up with this formula, it was something I was extremely passionate about. And with having this sort of very strong background, it's one of the things I truly love to highlight with the accolades that I have.
That's fantastic. So just, for me and for everyone else, is it podiatric podiatric or podiatric? What is the correct pronunciation from an expert?
That is such a great question, because you're not the only one that struggles with it. Trust and believe. I mean, the best of the best get it incorrect. So I am a podiatrist. I am a podiatric surgeon.
There we have it. Okay, so the podiatrist who engages in podiatric surgery. We have nailed this now. Okay.
Yes. And truthfully, you know, what I really like to highlight, because I think that this part is really washed over, is that when you are engaging in podiatric surgery, you are really doing orthopedic surgery, because it's bone surgery.
Yes, so important. So shall I call Dr. Yolanda?
Dr. Yolanda is absolutely fine.
Terrific. Okay, here we go. So Dr. Yolanda, you know, you're an extraordinary woman who has had this vision, found this spot, and created a spot. So what is it that you needed to disrupt in yourself in order to have created the personal and professional success you have at this moment in time?
Well, I don't know if there was a disruption in self. I think that I have always leaned eccentrically. So it was pretty easy. I think that it was a disruptor for everybody else. And it still is a disruptor for everybody else. In fact, it's so disrupting that it's almost unbelievable. So when I first came to the notion that I was going to actually have a practice solely engaging in podiatric surgery, but not just podiatric surgery, forefoot surgery, the front of the foot surgery, people said, you can't do it. It's not possible. You can't make a living doing it. And I knew that to be completely not true, and that's because of who I am as a person and understand who I am demographically. I am a Black woman. I knew within this particular demographic, being a Black person and a Black woman, that feet were, it's a very big thing within our community. There's, especially in New York City, there's no wonder why in our neighborhoods you can throw a rock and find a nail salon because we're always getting our fingernails done and we're always getting our feet done. It's a big deal. You could be Halle Berry fine, but if your feet weren't beautiful, it could be a deal breaker. There are women within this demographic who actually think, and I don't think that this is true across the board, but they think that they're actually not going to get married or get the guy because their feet are not up to standard. And if you go back to the 80s with the movie Boomerang with Eddie Murphy, it's a classic. If any of you that are watching this show right now, if you have not seen the movie Boomerang, it is a classic. It is star-studded. Every single person in there, even if you don't know who these people are, look them up. Chris Rock, when he was nobody, was in it. Martin Lawrence, all these actors back in the days, to Grace Jones, everybody was in this movie. And there's a scene where he gets the girl and they're in bed, she's sleeping, pulls back the sheets from her feet, and he sees the feet and he is just repulsed and slivers out the bed. And the next day, it blacks out to the next day, and he's talking with his boys. And, the guys are talking about, oh, she was beautiful or whatever. And he's like, but her feet. And he's like, there's hammer time going on in there. Nobody would think that, that a woman so beautiful would have hammer time going on in her feet. And then that's when, the Black world knew. He told everyone in the Black world that, if your feet weren't up to par, don't even step out showing them. So I knew very early on that this was something I needed to do. I needed to do the procedure. I needed to do it with an aesthetic result, because the other thing I was noticing as I was training was that when you did the surgery the standard way, the results weren't translating the same on our skin. So there had to be different approaches to do this so that we could not only um, correct the function and get rid of the pain, but also normalize what your foot looks like in the end. Because a lot of the ladies would say after getting the procedure done and getting rid of the pain, uh, even though they got rid of the pain, their feet still looked displeasing. They would have preferred to stay in pain than to still have the embarrassing scars that they were that was retained after having the procedures done the standard way. That's still being done to this day.
That is so much that you've taken on in terms of really helping women and helping women in a way that is meaningful to them. And that's really what I'm hearing, is that oftentimes we hear, well, this is a great thing, or this is a great thing, or this is really how it needs to happen, but it's not what is meaningful for you. And you've really listened.
Yeah, and that's the feedback I get from so many of the ladies. They're like, I went to a couple of other guys, they were in my network, but I just wasn't getting the feedback or the answers that I was looking for from them. I even, when I had a partner, I would sit in. This is back when I first got straight out of residency program, and I would listen in on the consultations that this person would have, and I would say, "You're dropping the ball." I said, "You're not answering the questions the way that they need to be answered." I said, "This person wants to know, do you know how to close their skin? Do you know what their skin is going to look like?" It's the same thing with the hair. Do you know how to work with my type of hair? It doesn't, even from race and culture, if you have thin hair or thick hair, do you know how to work with that? So if you're not getting that sort of feedback from your hairstylist or whomever it is, you're not going to go with that person.
It's so important to be heard, and it's so important to be listened to. And this idea, well, you can't have this, all you can get is this. Now sometimes that is actually the truth, but not all the time. And to be able to get, to be out of pain and also have the aesthetic result that you want is so important. And I think, and I love your thoughts that, women are really hard on themselves from the tops of their heads to the tips of their toes. And, I know that my mom had trouble with her feet, in just how she was born. She would never get a pedicure. There was never anything in terms of, open toe shoes. And, and that when you feel, not that you have to, but when you feel uncomfortable and you feel like you have to hide something or cover something up, that's it's a space of like feeling like you're stuck. You just have to remember to cover up.
Well, here's the thing. This delves right into your line of work.
Yes.
What the healthcare industry fails to recognize is that this impacts people emotionally and mentally. So this corrects their mental well-being.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes, not all the time. I mean, some people think that they're going to lose a whole lot of weight and the world's going to change, and it doesn't. It doesn't all the time, but sometimes certain, you can make certain alterations to yourself, and it does change what you feel like mentally, and it does improve your mental well-being overall. So, but I do really think that if you do go in to get something corrected, that does have a medically necessary component, and then you feel worse off after having that correction. That's, I think that's the biggest point uh, when it comes to having the work done by me. So you and I have spoken about this being out of network providers. I am out of network. I can accept insurance if they're, if you have the benefits that allow you to go out of network. And, I really, I pray that there's a day that, the insurance companies will actually come to a conclusion to say that, hey, even if this person does have a strict HMO, it might behoove us to let them go to somebody out of network, because this is the only person that does it this way. And to prevent them from seeking out surgery over and over and over again to correct and correct and correct, and let's do a one and done, we'll let them go to this person.
Yes. I mean, I'm really thinking about, as I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking about the importance of feet. It's, and we have so many sayings about that. Stand on your own 2 feet, right? Get on your feet, get a move on. And what's moving us is our feet.
It's literally your foundation.
It is literally your foundation and your grounding. And, and to live without pain is so important, because to feel pain with every step is a lot of space of pain.
It truly is. I mean, it like, you think about like it, and it's not just, it's the pain, it's the shame, it's the not being able, feeling like you can't participate in certain activities. There's so many things, there's so many facets to how your feet can actually hinder, your lifestyle.
So you were clear on what your vision was about how you were going to help in your demographic, really understanding what that is and how women feel, and what how women want to look, right? The result that you're looking for, that aesthetic. And it sounds like your vision and your determination is what helped you to remain the disruptor, in a field where you weren't seeing a lot of people or a lot of women who looked like you and had this level and had this vision of commitment.
No, I mean, quite frankly, and I'm in the New York City area, so it's a metropolitan area. It's very, there's lots of different doctors here, and I can tell you, for 20 years, and I'm not saying I'm in the OR every single day, but I don't see a lot of Black women surgeons in these ORs. I am often in private ORs, and that's sad too, that you don't see a lot of it. So I think that I don't know. I think that they think that it's not possible to be disruptors, and I don't understand why. I think that if in a country where Black women make up they are the most educated group in the country, so, and they are probably the ones that are spending the most money in the country. So if these people are willing to spend, if they're the biggest consumers, of course they're willing to spend money on their health. Why aren't the other doctors out there, making their services available on the same scale like I am? I think that they don't think that it's possible. I don't think that they know how to do it. And I also think that the way that the system is created, they make it difficult to make it happen as well.
So what could you help us understand? Because you have such determination, right? what helped you to get that level of determination? Because, going into this, that there's pushback, there's like, what is she doing? This can't be done, et cetera, right? So what did you come in with, and what helped you to have this internal, you know, go for it and don't give up?
It's, some of it is like, I don't know. I don't want to call it blind foolishness. I think that it's guts, it's grit, it's I like I would want this, so why wouldn't somebody else? I know this has to work. This makes complete sense. If it makes sense, it makes sense. So why not try it? Um, Tried it, uh, got my foot in the door with
There you go.
somebody. Got my foot in. What I did was I kicked down a door. I joined a residency program where I knew I would be in the OR with the biggest heavy hitters in surgery. Okay, that's what I did first. Made sure I rubbed the elbows with those biggest heavy hitters. Found out one of the heavy hitters was looking for somebody to come in, and kicked down that door and said, you need me, and this practice needs me. This particular practice needs me. It was a complete 4-foot podiatric service, and I said, there's nobody else that should be in here. And this person said back to me, was like, well, I'm interviewing some other people. And actually kind of like told me who, and I'm like, you're interviewing those people? I'm like, okay, fine, waste your time. I said, but I'm the person that will be here. And he kind of looked at me and said, that was a good answer. And I said, yeah, so I'll be waiting for the call. I got the call. I came back. And then I negotiated a way to make myself like an independent contractor as opposed to being an employee. You always got to show somebody a way that you can make them money while making yourself money too. Show them how you show them your value. So you might not be making as much money if you had started on your own, but there's no startup. You're not putting any money to start up. You're just coming in. They have everything set up for you. They have everything. They have the establishment. They have everything set up for you. All you got to do is go in and say, hey, let me show you how to do it. Let me show you how I would do it if I had all of this.
So,
And that's how you start a business with $0.
okay, everybody get that, hear it and get that, that this relationship is a win-win. Actually, it's win-win-win. It's win for you, it's win for you, Dr. Yolanda, and it's win for the patient. And when that happens, you create this, extraordinary positivity where people have gotten a result and they're so happy. The women are so happy. But here's another question I have for you. So, you have this determination, you have your vision. Is there something from your background or the messaging that you got to help you, have this fortified sense of self?
So, the fortified sense of self is, well, first of all, I just always knew that I could not, I knew I needed to work for myself. I realized quickly, because I worked a lot of retail. I sold shoes.
There you go. Okay.
I sold shoes. I sold shoes, like shoes of comfort. So I saw like all the foot deformities before I even knew what they were, before I knew what a bunion or a hammer toe was. And like all my managers were like these people that I was just like, I'm smarter than these people. I'm like, God, I need to go to school. I need to go to school. I need to educate myself, because I knew there was no upward mobility unless I educated myself. And I knew I needed to be the one to I needed to be the decision maker. And so that was always my goal, was to be self-employed, to be the job creator, and that's what I essentially did. I did not know that I would be doing the surgery. I thought I'd be doing dermatology because of the dermatology background. But when I got into podiatry school and I saw the whole surgical aspect, I said, "Oh wow!" That's when I was just like, "No, we're gonna flip this around." I'm like, I'm very dexterous. We're gonna do the surgery, and that's I knew that was my sense of self that came into play. I'm like very good with my hands. I can make almost anything. And so that was my sense of self that was definitely dropped into everything that is put into play today.
So I knew this would happen. We're really close to ending our time. My last question for you is, Dr. Yolanda, what's your next disruption?
So my next disruption is to expand the product line. As I mentioned earlier, I have the Fix Your Fungal Nail. I also have a foot balm. I have some other little medical products out there, but I really want to usurp that other big foot company out there. I think that they've just kind of like scratched the surface. I have lots of other ideas out there in the down the pipeline. So that's my next biggest disruptor, and have Fix Your Feet become a household name.
Well, today through your community and through my community, we're getting the word out about that. And Fix Your Feet, no reason to be in pain, and get the aesthetic that you want, and I'm a lover of shoes. I mean, I'll squeeze my feet into all sorts of things. It's like, really, are you really serious? And the answer is yes. And we have those shoes, and tell me if this is so. We have the shoes that, these are ones that I can wear if I'm standing for less than half an hour.
You have to bring your safety shoes along with you. I always say, always bring a pair of safety shoes. I've always thought about like, oh, we should have a shoe line that we call them soulmates. So you have the ones that are comfortable, and then the ones that may not be as comfortable. The ones that we put on display. And then I always say that your beautiful shoes, we never wear those out on the pavement. They're just made for hardwood and beautiful marble and tile floors.
Barely walking. So I want to thank you so very much for being here today. And I want to give a shout out to your courage and to your disrupting something with you, which is that this was your first Instagram Live. Thrilled to have you do this with me, and to be continued, absolutely to be continued. And let's take our cover shot. If you want to do a little fluff, we can do a little fluff, and we can get this going.
Sure. Oh, we're not showing too much.
So fabulous. Sisters never let another sister go out either, with something awry or something stuck in their teeth.
That's right.
This is it. Always out for the looking out. All right, ready?
All right.
And one more. Okay, and thank you everyone for joining us today in Disruptive Conversations. Today, fabulous guest, Dr. Yolanda Ragland, who's shared her wisdom, determination, and commitment for beautifying feet one set at a time. And I'll see you next week. Can't wait to see you there. And I've saved a seat for you.
Bye. Bye.